Hi everybody, welcome to my video. The subject of this video is how to set up a reasonably functional art studio in a very unglamorous room on a low budget. So upon looking around the house to try to find a place to do this, the basement was probably the best place. So I have all these shelves with everything stored in them, and we had a bunch of old furniture sitting around that, this was from the kids' room, and a spare TV and an old computer. So everything I needed. So I came up with this easel system out of my wood shop with stuff I had on hand, just some scraps of wood, and bolted it to the shelving and put these knobs on it that I can adjust the height with. Didn't have to buy anything, had it in the shop. Works out pretty good. I'm not sure what I'm going to do when it's time to print a smaller or make a smaller painting that's narrower, possibly put some rails in or, engineer something else. But for now, this has worked out fine because I like to paint big anyway. So that's worked out pretty well. You don't have to have a really fast, brand new, flashy computer to work with your art on. This is a at least 10, maybe 15-year-old computer from the office I work at. And we had this spare TV. I had probably a 10, 15, 20-year-old version of Photoshop sitting around from a prior business I had. So installed it on the old business computer. Perfect place to put my source art right next to my painting. I like to work with grids, at least for this series of paintings I'm doing on Formula One cars, because no matter how careful you are, it's really hard to draw perfect tires, and your eyes zoom right in on that if it's not right. So the grid system has been the perfect way to make not perfect but acceptable tire shapes that your eyes don't know are wrong. So with Photoshop here, I can just, if I'm trying to zoom in on an area and get it right, I can get it right. I can see the detail. Now, and you don't have to have a particularly great Photoshop file either. This particular file has kind of been cobbled together from a few different source photos. I found a car I liked, a shot of a car I liked, but it didn't have much of a background. So I found a background from another car shot at the same place and put that in Photoshop. I came up with this goofy idea to put a picture of my family in, kind of like Where's Waldo. So I grabbed a picture from years ago of my family and popped that in there. And it doesn't even, it's not very well done in Photoshop. It doesn't need to be, because I'm not making that the finished piece of art. But it was all I really needed to do that. Finished that one a while back. I actually started another one. And here again, you can see the grid system a little better probably because this is not finished. But with the grid, I can get the shapes of everything right. It's a little different than painting trees or a barn or something that is more forgiving as far as the actual shape goes. Probably don't need to have the grid system to paint a tree or some part of nature, but something that is man-made like a wheel or a tire, if it's not shaped just right, your eye is going to pick that up. Let's talk a little bit about how I'm organized here. And once again, you can buy fancy storage solutions at the art store and spend a lot of money, but I had a tool tray sitting around and perfect for my brushes and tools and markers and things. this old dresser worked out perfect. Keep all my paints in there. I've decided to work in acrylic for this first round of paintings. I haven't painted since high school. It's been 45 years since I did a painting. So I'm kind of relearning the whole process. But it seems to be working okay. I think I'm getting better with every painting. I think I've kind of settled on golden paints. I read they're probably the most opaque. And that's kind of one of the problems, one of the things I don't particularly like about acrylic is that no matter how thick you glop it on there, it seems like you can still see your drawing underneath. It takes, anyway, I'm learning. One of the things I have learned though, I've seen a lot of people in other videos and using charcoal pencils to do their base drawing with. I tried that and found that it made a big muddy mess once I started to try to paint over it. So I switched to just a good old simple mechanical pencil, and it makes a lighter drawing. Actually, I should put the other painting up there because you can see more of the drawing detail in it. I guess we can talk a little bit about lighting while I'm doing that. It's important to have lights from different angles because there's a certain amount of gloss you're working with these paints. And if you get a shine going on, it's kind of hard to see it. I like to have one above, maybe one or two on the sides. For purposes of the video, I've got photography lights back there. It's not normally this bright in here, but these are typically all I use when I'm painting. But back to the grid system and your actual pencil drawing, you can see the pencil, the mechanical pencil, is not particularly dark, but it's dark enough that I can see what I'm doing when it's time to paint. And it doesn't smear around so much when I do paint over it. It kind of stays put, whereas the charcoal kind of turned to mud and kind of made a mess. The other thing I did that I discovered that I don't see many other people doing is, first of all, I got a good coat of gesso on there, a good couple of coats to make it smoother, because just raw fabric from the art store is like sandpaper, and the paint doesn't like to necessarily fill all the little crevices if you don't get a good coat of gesso on there. But another thing I've done that helps with the pencil smearing, another thing too is when you've kind of got your line in there, it's time to erase these hash marks. Sometimes they're not that easy to get off there. And that means it's harder to cover up with the paint. So something I've done is, after I gesso it, I hit it with some of this gloss medium, and that gives a shinier surface, and it's easier to erase the pencil drawing or the hash marks. Otherwise you got to cover the hash marks up, and sometimes the paint doesn't always want to cover it sufficiently. But that's a little trick I figured out, and so all in all, I think I've got a pretty decent setup. It's not glamorous, but it's cool in the summer. It's warm in the winter. It's not pretty. It's an old, nasty basement, but it's a great place to do art. And it's not in anybody's way. If I drop paint on the floor, no one cares. It's just an old basement. So, I'd prefer to be in a nice, pretty sunroom somewhere with natural light and nice scenery, but if this is what you got, you can still do art. You don't have to have a flashy place to do it. So anyway, hope this helped. Maybe gave you some ideas to set your own up. And don't put it off. Do it. Even if you don't think you have a place to do it, set it up and do it. it's been a fun experience for the past couple years. And if I waited till I had a flashy place to do it, I wouldn't have done it. I'd still be sitting upstairs watching TV. So anyway, thanks for watching. Punch the like button. See you soon.